discussion. Earlier today, we were discussing, my local Sangha here and I were discussing, I was leading a discussion on based on a koan. Now, for those of you that don't know what a koan is a sort of paradoxal kind of story or saying small tidbit, whatever. And its goal is to keep the mind thinking and focused on that to be in the moment. This is actually a very popular practice to meditate on koans in Rinzai Zen, and not so much used so much in strict practice in Soto Zen like they do in Rinzai, but we do use them from time to time nonetheless. Now, many of these koans that have already been written long ago, they're in a book that we reference them to called the Blue Cliff Records. Um, they include the koan themselves plus some notes by the author on that koan. Um, and let's see if I can't bring up that koan through a book. Okay. Let's bring that up. There it is. Okay. So here's a page of that koan. And that's the one I want to look at. And I'm going to give you some information on what we discussed about it. And so I hope you enjoy this, because this is koans tend to be pretty fascinating things. So as you can see, the koan that we're going to be looking at today is called Nanchuan's It's Like a Dream. Ooh, let's go over this way. Let's see if I can do a dual page view here so that we don't. So that we can maybe see both pages. Oh, that was fun. Okay, the application crashed. Give me just a second while I bring it back up. Kindle for Mac decided to explode. Kerpoof. What can we say? It tends to happen, you know. We crashed it. Wah wah. Let me refresh the window here. Get back to where we were. Hmm. It did it again. It does not like it when I adjust page size. I'm trying to make it so that it's easy for everyone to see. And the Kindle app is just like, nope, you can't. I hate you. Today's been one of those Sundays, huh? Eh. All right, that ought to do it. That ought to do it. I'll be slightly surprised if it doesn't. Okay, here it is. So this is the koan that we'll be having a look at. So even though you can see it on the screen, I will go ahead and read it off as we go along. And hopefully I can still turn the pages here, because that would be handy. I might have to adjust the page size again. All right, that's what we're doing. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Hello, Jan Lee. How's it going? So I'm going to read the first part, and then I'm going to read the koan itself. And as we get to our game, kind of let it stew in your mind and give some input on what you think on it. The first bit: cease and desist. Then an iron tree blooms with flowers. Is there anyone? Is there? A clever lad loses his profits, even though he's free in 7 ways up and down and 8 ways across. He cannot avoid having another pierce his nostrils. But tell me, where is his error? I quote this to see. The case itself. As the officer Lu Xuan was talking with Nan Xuan, he said, Master of the teachings Chao said, Heaven, earth, and I have the same root. Myriad things and I are one body. That's quite marvelous. Nan Xuan pointed to a flower in the garden. He called to the officer and then said, People these days see this flower as a dream. And that's the koan itself. So our discussion here at my local sangha bounced around a bit. It was mentioned in part of the discussion that the koan could have something entirely to do with interconnectedness and connected origination. And these are actually Buddhist concepts that suggest that we are all connected in some way or another. Whether we're close by or far away, we're all connected with each other, other living beings. What things someone may or may not do, even on the other side of the world, could affect us either personally or as part of a group. So that's where that kind of comes in, and that kind of makes sense when he's talking about how heaven and earth himself, they have the same root, and that myriad things are one body. That's pretty symbolic of something like that. But then when Nan Xuan says, some people see some people these days see this flower as a dream, that's symbolic of how we often don't realize that particular, that particular part of it. So there's that. Many people kind of focused a bit on the iron tree blooming with flowers, um, and thought about that a bit. Um, Others had more personal experiences. I had one person discuss that their neighbor was taking down a large oak tree, and while she couldn't help but look because she was hearing saws and chippers all day, for several days, she said she couldn't help but feel disconnected, feeling that loss of life, um, from that area because that tree had been taken down. Um, and she said nothing was wrong with the tree or anything like that. They just didn't want it there anymore. So she had expressed that. Um, and those were like some of the main, like, kind of bigger points on this koan. While you're thinking about that koan, give some input on it while we go to our game.